Hey guys, I'm going to show you guys my Stephen King collection. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos of other people's collections, and I feel like mine's worthy of showing just because I have every single novel and short story collection is ever published up to date. The way that I have them organized is in chronological order from when they were first published, except for my Dark Tower series and the Bill Hollis's trilogy. So thanks to his wife, we have his first book, Harry. Then if you like vampires, you'll probably like Salem's Lot. And then me and The Shining have a hey and love relationship because I went in thinking it was going to be an amazing story, but it was just good. Then we have The Stand. I have read The Stand, but not this version because I believe this one's 1,153 pages, plus it's hardcover, so that'd be a heavy book to hold while reading it. So when I get to the version I read, I'll talk more about it. Then we have his first collection of short stories. I believe within this one we have Children of the Corn. This one's Night Shift. Then we have The Dead Zone. I believe there's a movie on this one. Then we have Firestarter. Then we have Dance Macabre. So in French, that basically means the dance of death. Within this one, Stephen just talks a lot about the genre of horror. And then we have a first edition of Cujo. So I believe Cujo is a very solid book. It has a lot of dark aspects to it, especially the ending. So you want to know, read it. Then we have different seasons. There's 4 stories in here, which are At Pupil, Shawshank Redemption, and then there's a movie which they took from here, which is Stand By Me, but in here it's called The Body. And then we also have The Breathing Method. And then we have Pet Cemetery. So this one I finished last week and it made it into my top 5. So it is a very creepy book in the aspect that he describes a few things that make you cringe, but it's a very fast-paced book. You never want to put it down. So I would recommend this one. And then we have Christine. This is the first edition. I've seen it go for like $50, but I actually found this one for $5, so I'm really proud of that. Then we have a collaboration with Peter Straub, which is a Talisman. This one is actually a first edition, second printing. Then we have a Richard Bachman book, Dinner. This one's cool because it contains a picture of Richard Bachman, but we all know Stephen King is Richard Bachman. Then we have The Cycle of the Werewolf. This one shouldn't take me that long because it contains a fairly good amount of pictures. Then we have another collection of short stories, which is Skeleton Crew. Within this one, we have The Mist. Then we have the Bachmann Books. So within this book, we have Rage, The Long Walk, Road Work, and The Running Man. I've seen this book go for like $80 to $120 in like really crappy condition because of this story in particular, Rage. So basically this guy's a mass shooter and Stephen King didn't want to have anything to do with that, so he stopped publishing this story because he didn't want someone to read Rage and then go out and do a mass shooting. So he's no longer publishing this book, so therefore it's worth a lot of money now. But I actually found this for $8, so I'm very proud of that. Then we have It. I have not read It yet because I'm currently reading Firestarter in front of Buick 8. But after I'm done reading those, I'm going to dive into the Pennywise world and the Losers Club. I've seen all the movies, but the book is always better than the movie. Then we have what some people call his YA book, which is The Eyes of the Dragon. Then we have one of my favorites. This is my top 3, Misery. So it was so good that I had to go out and buy the first edition of Misery. I like the artwork in this because it just portrays the story so good. The barn with the snow, him in the wheelchair just looking so depressed, and then the crazy old lady with the axe in her hand portrays what the story is about. I felt like I was the main character because it was so vivid the way he writes. I felt like I was the one trapped. So in my opinion, very good story. Would recommend it. Then if you like aliens and spaceships, you'll definitely like the Tommyknockers. Then I have a first edition of The Dark Half. And then we get into the Dark Tower series. So I've just read The Gunslinger. This is the revised edition, but I did not like it because I would read a paragraph and then I'd be like, what did I just read? Because I didn't really understand it. But they do say that this is the worst book in the series, so hopefully they get better. Then we have the Plume edition of The Drawing of the Three. Then another Plume edition of The Wastelands. Within this story, we get introduced to a children's book, which is Charlie Choo Choo. And I actually have the physical copy of that story, which is right here. And then we move on to The Wizard and Glass, another Plume edition. And then what Stephen King did was he wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then he went back and wrote this one. So this is the Wind Through the Keyhole. So this one would be the 4.5. This is actually a first edition. Then we have The Wolves of Kala, first edition. Then we have Song of Susanna, first edition. And then we finish the series with The Dark Tower. So this one's very cool because it comes with a bookmark, and this is a UK first edition. I found this for like $5 at this Tacoma bookstore, so I'm really proud of that. Then we have my Bill Hollis's Trilogy. So my wife gave me this for Christmas, and I still have it in the wrap because I am not going to take this out. I was really in love with the smiley face on this. It's very, very cool. I do, however, own the book so I can read them. So I have Mr. Mercedes. And then I have a first edition of Finders Keepers. So if you're wondering what the difference is that these do not have the smiley face. And I feel like that's a deal breaker. It doesn't contain the smiley face. This is another first edition of End of Watch. And then we go on to The Stand. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the reason I got into Stephen King. A year ago I purchased this in Seattle for my anniversary. And a year later, here I am with all his works. So this book is a roller coaster of a ride. If you want to dive into a big journey, this is your book. It's in my top 3 best Stephen King books of all time. It just is very intriguing. There are some slow moments in this book, but other than that, it's very fast paced. You're interested in every single character he introduces, even the evil ones. Then I'm gonna move on pretty quickly because I haven't read any of these. So we have another collection of short stories, 4 Past Midnight. And then we have Needful Things, Gerald's Game, Dolores Claiborne, another collection of short stories, Nightmares and Dreamscapes. And then we have a weird one. We have Insomnia. So this one's actually kind of related to the Dark Tower series in a way. And then this upcoming book has a trigger for some people because it does touch on a lot of domestic violence, which is Rose Matter. And then this is very cool. These 2 books actually make a portrait when you put them together. So we have The Regulators and Desperation. So they're basically the same story, just in parallel universes. This one was written by Richard Bachman, but you guys know Stephen King. Then we have my Green Mile series. So the way he published these was he would publish one each month. So we have The 2 Dead Girls, The Mouse on the Mile, Coffee's Hands, Bad Death of Edward Clocks, and then Night Journey, and his last one, Coffee on the Mile. So I do own the paperback edition in case I'm traveling and I'm currently reading this story and I don't want to carry a bunch of books with me. And then we have a romantic horror novel, which is Bag of Bones. Then we have The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. So if you like baseball, you'll probably like this one, but me and my wife both read this book at the same time and we did not like it at all. It rambles on a lot. Spoiler alert, it's about a girl who gets lost in the woods. That's basically all you need to know. We didn't like it. Then we have a short story collection, which is Heart and Atlantis. This one has 2 novellas, I believe, that are kind of related to the Dark Tower series. Then you want to be an author, you should probably pick up his book on writing. So the first portion of this book is his memoir, and then he starts talking about how to become a better writer. Then this book is always on people's least favorite books of all time, which is Dreamcatcher. However, I like the art. And then we have the sequel to The Talisman, which is Black House, the one that he wrote with Peter Straub. This is the first edition, second printing. This one is also related to the Dark Tower series. And in that point, we have another one that's related to the Dark Tower series, Buick 8. And then this one coming up next is really close to my heart because my wife gave it to me during Valentine's Day, which is Everything's Eventual. There's 2 stories in here that I really enjoy, which are The Men in the Dark Suit, which is about, spoiler alert, about a boy who meets the devil. So, there. And also Riding the Bullet. Really good story. Then we have one of his hard K's crime books, which is the Colorado Kid Who Killed the Man on the Beach. And we have the first edition of Cell. I guess in this one, if you pick up your phone, you turn into a zombie. Then we have another romantic horror novel, which is Lacey's Story. So I really like the artwork in this one. It's very fluorescent and colorful. I've never seen any other book like this. I enjoy that a lot. I've not read it though. I should probably read that. And we have another Richard Bachman book, which is Blaze. And a lot of people think this one doesn't get as much credit as it should, which is Duma Key. This one's cool because it's actually in large print. So when I'm reading my book at night, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to have a hard time reading that one. Then we have another collection of short stories, which is Just After Sunset. I feel like this is a cool cover because I feel like that's how your eyesight would look after you stare into the sunset. Or maybe not. Then we have my favorite book of all time. No matter what genre or author we're talking about, this one will always take the #1 spot, which is Under the Dome. Spoiler alert, this one's about aliens, so I feel like that really intrigued me. Also, every character in this book gets a chapter, and it's about a small town, so there's not that many characters, but I just love a story with a lot of characters, and for you to know what every single character is thinking. It's very intriguing, very fast-paced. I read this in a week, and then the last day when I was finishing it up, I stayed up till I believe 2 or 3 in the morning just so I can finish it because it was so good. If you never pick up another Stephen King book, or you don't pick up a Stephen King book, but you pick this one up, good choice. And then we have another collection of short stories, which is Full Dark, No Stars. Me and my wife really like the artwork on this one. There is a short story in here, and there's a Netflix series based on it. And there's a line in there that me and my wife really enjoy hearing, which is, in 1922, I murdered my wife. I feel like that's a really good way to start off a series because it intrigues the viewer. And then when we're talking about series, we have 11/22/63. This series, however, is in Hulu. I have not read the book though. I'm going to read it. Then we have Doctor Sleep. So this is a sequel to The Shining. My sister actually gave this to me for my birthday with an engraving, which is pretty funny, so I'll share it with you guys. Which says, I smile because you're my brother. I laugh because there's nothing you can do about it. True. I enjoyed The Shining, but this one I feel like it's a lot better. Doctor Sleep is a lot better than The Shining. It's more fast paced. And I like Danny as an older person maybe, but yep, I like this one a lot better. Then we go on to Joyland. And then we have a illustrated poem which is called The Dark Man. So if you're a constant reader, you'll know that the Dark Man is Randall Flagg. So Randall Flagg actually came to Stephen King when he was in college, and he stuck with Stephen King because now he's an antagonist in a lot of his books. I think that's pretty cool though. Then we have Revival. This is the first edition of Revival. If you like to know about the afterlife, what happens to you when you die, and you like biblical references, this is your book. Then we have another collection of short stories, which is Bizarre or Bad Dreams. And then I have another version of The Dark Tower, but this is the paperback edition. We just like the artwork in this one. It's pretty cool. And then we have Sleeping Beauties. So the story behind this one is Owen King and Stephen King were having dinner with the rest of the family, and Owen King told Stephen, hey, what about we write a book about if all the women in the world just fell asleep? And Stephen King liked the idea, so therefore we have Sleeping Beauties. Then we have The Outsider. Okay, so this book is phenomenal. This portion is phenomenal. And then the ending just feels like a big fat because he just splurged it. In my opinion, he just splurged it. He wanted to finish it up. I don't know what's going on, but it felt like you were reading this phenomenal story. You wanted to know who the outsider was. Then you finally get to see what happens or who he is. And the ending lasts like 5 minutes. And you're just, what the heck? But other than that, I really enjoyed it because of the Hispanic incorporations in here. He brings up the cucuy. So if you're Hispanic, you probably grew up with your parents telling you the cucuy is gonna get you. And he also incorporates luchadoras, which are basically girl WWE fighters. Holly Gibson makes her first appearance in this book, I believe, and she'll make an appearance on my shelf here in a minute. Then we have Elevation. So this book is so small, but it's so controversial because a lot of Stephen King fans or constant readers hate it or love it. I liked it though. So then we have The Institute. So my wife gave me this for my birthday. She surprised me by telling me that she pre-ordered it for me. But when I saw the cover art release, I instantly knew I was going to enjoy the book. I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but I did. And it turned out really good. It's in my top 3. Very, very good book. Really would recommend it as well. And then we have Wendy's Button Box, which you wrote with Richard Chismar. This wasn't actually an old library book. I feel like it's funny because it has the horror sticker on it. And then we have Wendy's Magic Feather. The cool thing about this one is it's actually signed by Richard Chismar. And then the last book just came out, straight out and hot and ready for us, If It Bleeds. So remember how I told you how Holly Gibson made another appearance on my shelf? Well, in this one she has a whole novella to herself. And in this one I really like the artwork in the dust jacket because of the mouse. That's the cat's nose. Haven't read it. Probably not going to read it for a while because there's so many books that I want to read before I get to this one. However, guys, this is my whole Stephen King collection. Hope you enjoyed the video. I do have another shelf, but it's not Stephen King related. But if you want to see that, leave that in the comment section below. However, I do want to know what your guys' top 5 Stephen King books are, or what your favorite Stephen King book of all time is. If you want to see more book reviews or videos related to Stephen King, leave that in the comment section below. But there you have it, guys. My Stephen King collection. Peace.